Okay, so demonstration video number 1. So like I said, I'm gonna just do a really quick sketch here, and then I'll start painting with you momentarily. I'll get my brushes back over here. All right, so just gonna come in here. Like I said, quick sketch. I wanna try and take up most of my canvas here. So I've got my shadow. And then we've got an overlapping bone here. And I went ahead and printed my picture off. And you all can either work from a screen, or if you want me to print, I can do that as well. So just roughing it in here, because my brush strokes will also be rough. First starting, that's gonna come back out there. Okay, so something like this, and I'll start to get my details in there as I'm painting. Okay, and then I'm also gonna give myself kind of an imaginary horizon line. I'm just gonna put it right in there. Okay, so quick sketch. Okay, for your paint, those of you that got the paint, the yellow is yellow ochre and the brown is raw umber. The yellow ochre we're gonna use as, this is the yellow ochre, we're gonna use that as our highlights, and we're gonna use the raw umber as our shadows. So I'm gonna mix, I'm gonna do a combo mix here in the middle to create mid-tone colors, okay? So do, I don't know, about half and half. I might do a little more raw umber or yellow ochre and then a little raw umber in there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start kind of mixing that now. And then we'll see where we get as far as a good mid-tone. So I'm gonna pull, and each time that you go into a new color, get in the habit of washing your brush out so that you do not contaminate your colors, okay? Okay, so I've got mostly yellow ochre, and I'm gonna just introduce a little bit of the raw umber at a time, not very much. And I'm gonna mix here. See what I get. You know, and I think that will work just fine for midtones. Okay. So this will be a thing, I mean, we will definitely be going over color and color mixing after this painting. Okay, but for now, if you've got a stronger, if you've got like a really dark paint, more than likely you'd be using more of your light and just a little bit of your dark, okay, because that can outweigh it quite a bit, okay? All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by laying in shadows, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put my image right up here. You guys probably can't see it, but that's okay. So you choose your brush that you would like to use. I'm starting off with the larger round brush. But it can be really your choice. I want to use the larger round because I can get fairly straight lines with it, but then it also kind of comes to a point. So again, your kind of choice. When I start going into larger areas that I need to put paint in, I'll switch over to my flat and washes and even angles, okay? So I'm gonna start with the brown, the raw umber right now, and I'm gonna use high. Oh, so many. Okay, this is the second one for Hannah. and then Christina, you've got one now too. So, okay. So So maybe towards the end of class. All right. So what I'm going to do is I've got my easel kind of out in front of me, and I'm going to hold my paintbrush towards the back of the handle. Okay. So I'm going back there because I want to use my elbow more and I want to use my shoulder more instead of my wrist. Okay. So you're going to be kind of moving. So I want you to kind of find where your shadows are. And we're going to go ahead and start laying them down. And so I'm going to start in my shadow, and then I'm going to move towards my sphere, and then I'm just going to kind of work it through. Now, remember that you did your brushstroke exercises. So you're laying this in there nice and choppy, and you're kind of looking at your direction. So you want your brush strokes to accentuate your directions of your objects, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just start going for it, okay? So I've got my darkest shadow coming in this way. And again, you want your brush strokes to accentuate your direction, okay? So I'm going to come in here and get that. Okay, and these are going to be rough, so you don't need to worry about completely filling it in or anything like that, okay? Also, when you do underpaintings like this, it's basically like you're drawing with your paintbrush, okay? All right, so now I'm going to come over into the sphere, and I'm going to start working those brush strokes in. And you don't always have to use this yellow ochre and burnt umber for your underpaintings. You can choose different colors. Sometimes we've worked with purples, blues. It just kind of depends on your overall goal here. Okay, so again, you're just trying to kind of capture the form loosely. You just want to get those directions in there, okay? And you're just kind of marking out your shadows and highlights as you go, okay? So I like to start off with my shadows first, and then I work up to my highlights. So I'm gonna go through and just real loosely. Remember, your hand is back on the back end of the brush, and you're really kind of working from your shoulder and your elbow, okay? So I've got a little bit of a shadow kind of pulling through in here, okay? All right. And then as far as how my background looks, it's real dark back in here for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of lay some of that in there, and it's lighter on the other side, okay? And I'm going to come around here to the front. My shadow actually kind of starts there in that area. Okay, so that's the nice thing about your kind of underpainting is kind of like drawing with your brush. So if you didn't get it in with your pencil all that well, now this is your chance in trying with paint. And good thing about paint is you can always cover it up. So if you go outside your lines a little bit, that's okay. And you guys have kind of noticing that in this sphere, I kind of let the paint run out of my brush. I didn't really come back in and pick up more paint so that you can get lighter variations going in there. So now I'm kind of coming in and just adding a little bit more into my darker areas so I can start really laying out form here. So really pushing 3D. How's everybody doing so far? Doing okay? Okay, try to work from your shoulder and your elbow more than your wrist. So go towards, work on the back of your brush. Hold towards the back of your brush, okay? All right, so I'm going to come back up here, my background. And you do not necessarily have to go in the same areas as me, obviously, because we've all got different images going on here. so you can kind of bounce around. Okay, here in the background, I might keep it kind of choppier, give it some texture in there. Hey, fam, are you feeling better? No?
I just have a lot to do today.
Yeah, okay. So I started kind of underpainting today. So I think, do you still need to finish drawing, Addie? No? Okay, so you could either jump in on this or you can just watch so that you can, and then just start tomorrow. Or you can work on a brush stroke worksheet at the same time. Your choice, whatever you want to do. Did you? Oh, okay, good. Okay, so just still kind of working through here. Ooh, your arm gets tired, doesn't it? Anyone else feeling a little tired? Okay, now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start kind of putting in shadows in my bone. Now my bone is not gonna have very much because it's my lightest. So I'm just going to only pick up a little bit of paint at the time and just start putting in, and that's pretty dark. It's a little darker than I wanted it to be. So now I'm gonna come in and just put in the shadows that I'm seeing pull through. Okay, and obviously your guys' is gonna be different from mine. So really look at where are your darkest points, because I almost started to put it in an area which is more of a mid-tone. Okay. So here you're just kind of sketching. You're just kind of sketching with your paint almost. Let's see, what do we got going on here? We got this pulling through. And I've got some pretty good shadows coming up in this area here. Okay. And on the, let's see, right-hand side, my bone's a lot darker than the left-hand side just because of the light source. And if you, ladies, if you notice that your paint's really not moving like you'd want it to, you can add, you can touch your brush in your water cup and add just a little bit of water, and that'll make it a little more fluid. Okay, so just coming in and getting those real dark areas in there. And I'm probably going to start moving on to midtones. We got a really nice dark shadow down in here, so I'll get that in there. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, how's everybody doing so far? Doing good? Am I moving too fast? Am I doing okay? Doing okay? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my midtones. Now, if you're not ready for your midtones, that's fine. But if you are, you can move on to it. Like I said, I'm going to put this video that I'm recording, I'm going to get it in Canvas, and I kind of expect people to refer back to it. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to come in and use my midtones, and I'm not going to really worry about blending so much because I'm going to do that on my top layers here. Okay, so just coming in, and if your paint from underneath is already wet, you're going to blend a little. Okay. Light, I might blend a little. I want to be careful about using too much water. All right. Okay, again, remember that when you're doing your brush strokes, when you're putting these in here, you're wanting to capture your forms that are coming in, okay? So we might have a little bit of a suggestion of a highlight in here. And get that in. Starting to get some of my light source pulling through in this area. Okay. All right, and just kind of bringing some of that down into our colors. I have like the urge to start talking like Bob Ross. We're just gonna put a little happy highlight here. It's your still life. It's your world. You make it how you want. Which BTW, I got an actual like card, Bob Ross card deck that has like each card is a different painting and he's got little sayings on there. Just FYI. All right. Okay, so just kind of working through midtones here. Trying to keep it rough, not really worrying about really getting it nice and neat. Now I'm going to start coming in and working through some midtones up in my bone. Okay. Up in here. Here like this, and start placing them in this way. All right, so again, just looking for what kind of shapes do those shadows and highlights make. And then that's what you're putting in. Okay, let's see, we got a bit undertone down in here. That's got a highlight there. Put that in. Okay. All right, might start to put some midtones going on up in here. Just to kind of get a differentiation between shadow, bone, background. There we go. And again, you don't have to worry about your underpainting being real clean, okay? Hannah, was that you saying that? All right. So I'm getting fairly close to being ready to start adding in kind of highlights, and then I'll be done for today, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start moving on to some highlight areas. So that's gonna be just my pure yellow ochre. And technically, highlighting should be pretty sparing. So out of everything that you've got going on, your highlights are probably going to be your least used, okay? All right, so I'm going to come in here. Come in here this way like this. And with my highlights, I'm trying to pay just a little bit more attention to like the size of my bone, the curvature, kind of all throughout, really, to be honest. Okay. Some real nice bright area in here. And you'll notice that some of it I'm kind of leaving white for right now, but I'm going to come back in. Okay, so on my bone, all my highlights are going to be really concentrated on the left-hand side here because that's where my light source is. Oops. Okay, we've got a little bit of a highlight popping through here. And I've got some real bright highlights pulling through in here. Still just kind of working through my shapes. See here, this comes up this way. Got a highlight pulling in through here. Right in here. Okay. Okay, and then I might also just kind of get some highlight brush strokes coming in here, give myself a little bit of atmosphere. Okay. And come in and work some midtones back into these white areas I've got on my bone. Maybe even some shadows. I can kind of start mixing my paints in here a little bit. Okay. So as I kind of start laying things out, now I can kind of come in and use like my midtones, my shadows with my highlights kind of all at the same time now. So just kind of coming back in and kind of defining my form out just a little bit more. So I'm kind of bouncing around between my values that I've got going here and kind of working on doing some blending. Okay, so just kind of working through that. And I'll really get the blending going when we move up to using our actual blacks and whites and browns. Just like this. Okay, so just kind of working through your colors here. Got that a little too watery, that's okay. Can paint over it. Can also clean my brush out, dry it off on the paper towel, and come back and pick that stuff kind of back up. Okay, so just trying to lay some foundation in here. All right. Yours could probably be like even looser than mine as far as like your brush strokes go. That's fine. Okay, so don't worry about it. Everybody does something, paints, draws, whatever, does it different. Okay, so just kind of working on some blending areas personally. I'm gonna try and kind of differentiate my backgrounds here. Let's get mid-tone pulling through. Trying to find that edge between background and my objects. Okay, this is also where you can kind of practice your brush strokes. So you're gonna kind of be playing with smooth brush strokes and textured brush strokes in this painting, and then you can kind of start deciding from there what kind of a painter do you want to be. Do you want to be someone who blends a lot, you just like that look, or do you like texture? Okay. Okay, so you guys can kind of see that I just kind of keep coming in, adding some layers. Bless you. Sorry that the two of you are feeling miserable. It'll be okay. All right. All right, so you guys can kind of see that I'm just trying to cover up my canvas surface as much as possible. How many of you feels like yours looks like a mess? Okay, it's okay. So don't worry about that. Underpaintings are kind of just a mess, all right? So you don't need to worry about it. Let's get back behind here. And that is probably gonna be our time. Okay, ladies, how many of you are still working on drawing on your canvas? Okay, okay. So your goal is you need to make sure that you've got it drawn on your canvas totally by tomorrow, and you also need to balance if you've got your worksheets that you need to get done. You'll need to work on those as well. So priority, here's how it's gonna go, okay? If you still have worksheets that you need to complete, you need to work on those first tomorrow, okay? After that, you get this drawn out, and then you start your underpainting. I'll have this ready to go on canvas for you, so you could plug into headphones if you need to. And then I probably won't start my overpainting until Tuesday, okay? So I'll be kind of pausing on this step and we'll come back to it on Tuesday. Okay, everybody good? All right, go ahead and start cleaning up for today. And I'm just gonna kind of keep painting as you all are cleaning up. What? Don't do that. Thank you. Oh yeah, I already forgot about TT. Yeah. Just, yeah. Okay, let me do...
And whoever sits back there is going to be kicked out of their spot because we're in state. So I don't want to move.
Because I don't want to move. Okay. Okay, last spot, and then I'll be done.
No, not allowed. Hurry up.
You shut your mouth. And that's in the video. Okay. All right, and we'll call this complete.